JJ Stankevitz is the Bears insider for our friends at the Regional Sports Network, NBC Sports Chicago. He's joining us right here on the Rich Eisen Show. He's also the voice of the Under Center podcast. How are you, JJ?
I'm great, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I say this decision was made when they acquired Nick Foles, but I give the floor to the insider. What do you say on this front?
Yeah, they'd come to this decision that they're not going to pick up Mitch's fifth-year option. I think the Nick Foles the decision to trade for him essentially solidified it, but they had been moving this way for a while. You know, look, the film doesn't lie with what Mitch has done. You can talk about how the rest of the Bears offense didn't perform up to the level they hoped, especially at tight end and offensive line, but it comes down to quarterback play, and Mitch just did not meet the expectations that the Bears placed on him. So there's really no reason to pick up his fifth-year option, even before they traded for Foles, because you're risking him being bad and then getting hurt and then being on the hook for $24 million in 2021 for a bad quarterback. What this does is, and this is in tandem with the Foles trade, is they're also trying to motivate Mitch. They're trying to tell him, hey, you know, we've given you this job for the last 3 years, essentially. Now you've got to go out and earn it, and your career is really on the line here. So us trading for Nick Foles, us not picking up your fifth-year option, is also trying to send a message to him to try to light a fire under him to see if that finally brings out the guy they thought they were getting 3 years ago.
So where did it go wrong?
Oh, boy.
Because this is definitely, look,
Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson.
No, I guess so. JJ. I mean, look, I know that's kind of a harsh way to put it, but when you draft somebody second overall, you're going to pick up their fifth-year option because you draft someone second overall. Certainly when in year one with his new head coach, he's looking stellar. Something's gone wrong. Where has it gone wrong?
So a lot of it is fit. And when the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky in 2017, it was nowhere near the right fit for him. They had a coach in John Fox who was still trying to save his job. So when Mike Glennon was awful for the first 4 games of the season, Fox put Mitch in earlier than he should have because he was trying to win some games to keep his job. So the structure around Mitch also in 2017 was absolutely atrocious. And Kendall Wright was their leading receiver that year. He was out of the league after that year. He had no one to throw to. He had no offensive scheme that was conducive to what he needed. But more than anything, he only started 13 games at North Carolina. He needed more time to develop, probably behind the scenes, or if not behind the scenes, at least in a good offensive scheme, one that could play to his strengths, which what the Bears offense in 2017 did not do that at all from a scheme perspective. So then you get him into Matt Nagy's system. They kind of erase a lot of what happened in 2017, but now you're starting to see some of the deficiencies that lie only in Mitch, his ability to process, his ability to read defenses, not lock onto 1 or 2 receivers, go through his progressions, make checks at the line, all these different things that a quarterback needs to be able to do to be successful. And then 2019 was kind of this year of just atrophy with him, where things started to go really wrong, and now you're starting to see him have really sloppy footwork and miss wide-open receivers downfield. You're starting to see him make just mind-numbing decisions with the football, not just in where he's throwing it, but what he's doing with it when he's running or taking a sack. And it's just gone downhill to the point where, no, you can't pick up Mitch's fifth-year option, and you have to go trade for Nick Foles. And the thing that I just keep going back to with it is that Mitch would not be Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson if he were in Houston or Kansas City. But I think he'd be a bit of a better quarterback if he were. From a talent perspective, he's got a lot of the things that teams want. He's mobile. He's got a strong arm. He's displayed accuracy in the past, although that has waned in Chicago. And I just think the Bears did not set him up to succeed because he's one of those quarterbacks who needed everything around him to be right to succeed, and everything around him was not right from the start, and I think that's kind of the root of a lot of the problems here.
Well, I mean, they got rid of John Fox, if that's what you're referring to, and they did bring in somebody in Matt Nagy who won Coach of the Year with him at quarterback, and if it wasn't for a double doink, interestingly enough, The last time Nick Foles won a game in the NFL was then. So, put it all together. I mean, was last year suddenly they didn't have what they wanted? What is it? I mean, Jordan Howard went away or you know what I'm saying? Like, how did it go from, hey, we got a Coach of the Year guy, Trubisky's finally coming into his own, to, well, it's never been right for him?
So 2018's offense was very simple. It was kind of the football 101 version of Matt Nagy's scheme. And I think, and I don't want to overstate the success Mitch had in it, because he was about a league average quarterback in 2018. But Matt Nagy then tried to build on that by saying, okay, we got this guy who's, sort of league average here. Let's try to take him to the next level. Let's start to expand this offense. When Matt Nagy left Kansas City, Alex Smith was running essentially the football 505 version of it. So let's just take it up to 202 and see how he does. And I think that jump in complexity in the offense scrambled a lot of what Mitch was able to do. I mean, he never took off and ran last year. He was trying to do something that he wasn't. He was trying to be a guy that he wasn't. He never looked like he was playing loose really until the Dallas game in December, and then that kind of went away quickly when they went up to Green Bay a week later. I think that Matt Nagy maybe didn't set Mitch up for as much success as he could have, but at the same point, you've got this guy who's drafted number 2 overall, who's got all this talent. You can't just keep running a very simple offense that defensive coordinators are able to figure out pretty quickly and easily. You've got to try to expand it. You've got to try to put more on his plate to grow his game. It's not just as easy as saying, hey, we ran this offense in 2018 that was pretty simplistic. Let's go ahead and run it again in 2019 because defensive coordinators know what's coming. So you've got to try to add these new wrinkles, and I don't think Mitch handled those new wrinkles very well. The other aspect that I do want to give some credence to is that their tight end play was absolutely awful last year.
Dreadful.
They got nothing out of their tight ends.
Right.
And in Matt Nagy's offense, that is such an important position. If you look at Kansas City with Travis Kelce, Philadelphia with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, this type of offense needs good tight end play. The Bears got absolutely none of it last year. That also impacted Mitch's play last year.
Is that why they're having like a Bachelor type setup for a tight end right now? It seems like that they're having a reality show right now. There's 10 of them.
I don't think Adam Shaheen's going to be getting a rose when it comes to the tight end play. But look, they've gone out and they've tried to address that position. I don't know if they've addressed it as well as they could have. Especially when you look at the Jimmy Graham signing and his decline in Green Bay. But I like Cole Kmet a lot.
He's great.
I had a chance to catch up with Chip Long. It was his offensive coordinator at Notre Dame, and he said that this guy is the real deal in terms of his skill set, what he can do in terms of the blocking upside, what he can do in terms of his pass catching upside, and the way that Chip explained it to me is that this guy's his focus at Notre Dame was not just on football; it was on baseball, academics, and football. Now you're getting a guy who's only going to be focused on one thing, and that's being the best tight end he can possibly be in the NFL. He's got a lot of upside. I think the Bears did a pretty good job getting him where they got him. He's a guy who I do think will impact this offense, because the other number that always sticks out to me with their tight end play isn't the number of receptions they had last year or whatever it may be. The Bears were bottom 5 in the league in running 12 personnel in 2019. The Eagles and Chiefs were in the top 5. That number for the Bears, they've got to be able to get 2 tight ends on the field, a whole lot more for Matt Nagy's offense to really start humming. And I think in Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet, they at least will have the ability to do that.
Well, and plus you would know J.J. Stankevitz, the NBC Sports Chicago Bears insider, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. You and anybody who spent even a second in Chicagoland knows that Notre Dame Fighting Irish football is the second Chicago football team. So to get somebody from Notre Dame there sitting in Chicago is a popular move, and I'm sure a bunch of Bears fans know exactly who he is. And same thing with Jimmy Graham, and that is all positive. So I guess ballpark it for me before I let you go, sir. What the next steps here are, and how you see this playing out.
So the next steps for the Bears are going to be this quarterback competition. That is the 1A thing for Matt Nagy, and I do think it's going to be more open than some folks might think. When they traded for Nick Foles, a lot of people thought he's going to be immediately the starter. I think Foles will be the week 1 starter, but he's going to have to earn it, and I do think the Bears are going to have a relatively even competition, because that was also another reason why they traded for Foles, is that he allows them to have an open competition because he knows the offense, whereas Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, Cam Newton, these guys don't know the offense without offseason program, blah, blah, blah. Those guys aren't going to know the offense. So I think that it will be a pretty open competition. I would expect Foles to take the lead in that pretty quickly when training camp starts and be, pretty clearly the week one starter at some point in August. And then after that, it's figuring out what the offensive line can do to be better, because it was not all that good last year. They got rid of Harry Hiestand, who's one of the best offensive line coaches in football, and replaced him in the guy in Juan Castillo, who knows Matt Nagy but was out of the league last year. So can Juan Castillo fix the offensive line? That's another big question mark, big next step that they're going to have to see. And then what their skill position looks like, skill positions in terms of wide receiver, tight end, all that. And then mostly beyond all that is just how will Matt Nagy rework his offense to try to fit who he has on this roster, not maybe fit an idea of what he thinks his offense should look like. I think this is going to be a huge year for Matt Nagy in his future as an NFL coach. If Matt Nagy can figure out a way to get this Bears offense going with Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky as his quarterback, Matt Nagy's going to have a job for a long time in the NFL. But if the Bears are bottom 5 in the league in offense again, Matt Nagy's not getting fired after this year, but he's going to be going into 2021 probably closer to the hot seat than he may want. So it's going to be a really huge year, a pivotal year for the Bears here in Chicago. I think they've done enough to get themselves into contention in the NFC North again, maybe closer to Green Bay than they were last year. But a lot still has to come together, especially a quarterback, for the Bears to be a successful team in 2020.
JJ, thanks for the call. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the insight.
Okay, be well, Rich. Thank you.
You bet. That's JJ Stankevitz, the NBC Sports Chicago Bears insider and voice of the Under Center podcast right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.